Hello and welcome to the Glass and Art Studio Textured Plate tutorial. My name's Katie Hinder, glass artist and tutor at the Glass and Art Studio. In this kit you get a 24cm square piece of glass, a range of stringers and a range of frets. In this tutorial I'm going to make the Four Seasons tree plate. I have deep charcoal stringers, which are the thin rods of glass at the top of your screen. And I've got a selection of frets, which are crushed glass. I'll show you the various colours as we go through. Now before we begin making, it's important to clean the glass. This helps to remove any grease from the manufacturing process or from our fingers. We clean the glass with vinegar or glass cleaner and a cloth. And it's important to remember that we are working with glass and the edges are sharp. If you're under 16, make sure you get the help from an adult. Now with this kit you can do any design that you want to do. I quite like the 4 trees throughout the seasons. That's the one I'm going to show you today. I've made a little bit of a template, as you can see underneath, just to make sure I get the trees in the right places. It doesn't matter if you decide to work on the rough or the smooth side of the glass. I've now sped things up a little bit because it's quite a long tutorial. So first of all I'm going to break up the stringers and help to plan out my trees. You could draw the trees underneath if you wanted to. I like to work a little bit freer and design them as I go. So I'm breaking the stringers up with my fingers. If you wanted to, you could use pliers. Now I'm putting the stringers into the glue palette just to get them out of the way, really, to give me a clear working space. Square everything up on my plan, and now I'm going to start applying the PVA mix. So the glue I'm using is a PVA mix with water, 8 parts PVA to 2 parts water. By watering it down, it means that it dries a little bit quicker, although it probably won't dry very hard while you're working. If your pieces do move around a little bit, wait a little bit, probably about 24 hours, and come back. If they're still moving around, apply a little bit more. You don't want to put too much glue on because it can have a little bit of effect after firing. So I've done one half of my tree with the branches and the trunk, and I'm now going to work on the left hand side. You can move the stringers around with your fingers. They do have the habit of moving, so a little bit of nudge with some tweezers is always helpful. I'm now applying the fret. The fret I'm using is spring green, so this will be my spring tree. I've got a mixture of opaque and transparent, medium and coarse. I'm just trying to vary it and build it up over the branches. I don't want too many pieces around the tree. You might want them, and that's absolutely fine. For this tutorial, I was trying to contain everything a little bit. So you can just move it in as you're working. Remembering that any glass that is on the plate will be there after firing. I'm now starting to work on the next tree. And because we're looking at the same tree throughout the seasons, I'm trying to replicate it. So applying my glue again, not too much. I've made things even a little bit faster. Now I love stringers, but they can move around and it can be really frustrating. They can even fly off when they're in the kiln. So you never know what you're going to get, but that's part of the beauty with kiln fused glass. When you get your pieces back, they look completely different. And I always enjoy opening the kiln and seeing what's happened. So because we're using a single layer of glass and we're adding decoration to the top, this will go on what I call a texture firing. The top temperature will be 780 degrees Celsius. It will go through various stages before we get to that temperature, and it will come down very slowly at certain rates so that we don't get any thermal shock. The glass that we're using, as always, is Bullseye glass from the US. You can only use Bullseye fusible glass with itself. It's important not to mix any, so if you've got any other frets or stringers at home and you think they could be Bullseye, just don't risk it because we could get some cracking. So I'm now making my summer tree. Now I know there's not many blue flowers out there, but I just love the combination of spring green and turquoise blue. And although this looks like it's a lilac, it's not. It's actually light pink striker in coarse grade. So when it's fired, it'll be a nice ruby pink. It's a combination that I like to use on other plates as well. I just like the colours. I think they work well together. So I'm now moving on to my third tree. Measuring out the trunk. And this one's going to be autumn. Now I did wonder after I'd made this plate whether I should have done winter and autumn around the other way, but it's completely up to you. I think it probably works both ways, so I'm all right. If you would like to make the tree plate with your kit, let me know and I'll make sure that you've got all the right colours and things you need when I'm packing it up for you. So here we have red striker. A striker means that it's going to change colour in the kiln throughout the heat process. This red will become even brighter. It's a lovely transparent red. And there I've got medium amber coarse for it, which is a golden colour. By adding the different grades and different colours, you get a variation in texture. And because it's autumn and the leaves are starting to fall, I have added a little cascade. And the final colour that I'm putting on there is deep red. And that's a coarse opal colour. The stringers have moved, give them a little nudge. And here we go for the final tree. I'm laying my glue on. Stringers can be very fiddly, but they're great for adding just a little bit of colour. And sometimes in fused glass it's hard to add precise lines, and stringers are great for that. So I'm working on the final tree and using up all the little pieces that I've got left. So the nice thing about this plate is when it's finished firing, it's going to have two firings initially. One firing to fuse all the glass together, the texture firing, and then because it's going to be in the shape of a plate, it's going to go over a mould at a much lower temperature, just to allow the glass to sag down, which will mean that the four corners will be lifted slightly. And that will help the light to bounce through the plate. I'm now adding opaque white opal, medium grade. And that's fine opaque white opal. I wanted to add that just to give a softness. Fine frits are really nice and just giving a little edge over the top. And that colour is iridescent clear coarse. Okay, there's the making process finished. There you can see the piece before the kiln. And I'm just checking everything over, making sure it's all in the right place. There's the piece after the first firing, and onto the blue.